Right, good evening. Huge welcome back to Rob B with the Identity and Presumption of Authority. Rob runs the Ashton Freedom Advocates Meet in Wigan each Wednesday from 8ish, which focuses on peaceful solutions in law and self-education, where everyone seems to be big. Tonight, Rob focuses on the identity, which on the surface is just who we are, is it not? Maybe it's a little bit more than this. There could be a legal or lawful significance to the identity that may benefit us to know. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rob B.
Good evening. Okay. Good evening. My name's Rob. Some new faces here, which is absolutely fantastic, guys. We have got a wealth of knowledge to share with you. If this is new to you, it's going to be a real journey. I promise you now, it's once you learn this stuff, it comes with a caveat. Once you start learning the truth, what's happening behind the scenes, you can never go back. You can never go back to the comfortable life you had. It will change how you view the world and how you view yourselves. I do. I'm not so much. I don't run the Ashton Meet. I coordinate it. We started that 2.5, 3 years ago now, and we've gone on leaps and bounds in knowledge. We knew nothing 3 years ago, and my God, do we know a lot now. Some fantastic people over in the Ashton Meet, the Bolton Meet, Liverpool, we're all over the place now. We share information for free, we all do our research, we're all in the courts, testing the courts, writing our letters, accosting individuals, etc. You get information and try to share that information with everybody. So if I learn something, you get it the next day. Yeah? I do a radio show, there's Critical Mass Radio over in Manchester, fantastic show. I've also got a slot I've just started up again on No Borders Radio. I would urge you to 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening. And I information dump. I'm not going to do an information dump tonight, because I realise there's some new people here and I'm just completely just standing if we're going to deep law, yeah? So we're going to have a bit of fun tonight. Unusually we're going to have a bit of fun and not just do a lecture on law. So the concept is, if you're going to move forward, before you start accusing everyone else, you're facing that corporate thing where when you point the finger at somebody, it's 3 fingers pointing back, yeah? That's true. You've got to look at yourself. Are you in the right place? Who's at fault here? There's a quote, I like to quote this a lot. This is sort of my mantra. And it's by a chap called Alexander Rolcott, and he said, I'm tired of hearing it said that democracy doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. We are supposed to work it. What more can I say? Everything in that one little 2 or 3 sentences. We are supposed to work it. We've been asleep at the helm now, guys, for decades. And we've been asleep and going about our lives and trusting them to do, look after us. They've been having fun, let us say, okay, we've been asleep. So we have a duty, my generation, the generation before me, and the generation after me, and the generations to come, we've got a duty to start telling them what we want. This is our country. We're not bad people, we're not terrorists, we're not, out to hurt or harm anyone, we're not freeloaders looking for something free. What we're looking for is just a fair and amenable and equitable society. We can all live together and not be scratching each other's eyes out and face the sheer corruption that's at every level of government from top to bottom now, and every public body is absolutely saturated. Corruption is the norm. This is the fact, right? It's so normal when you point out to a lot of these people, they don't realise what they're doing is actually corruption, what they're doing is actually corrupt, and what they're doing is technically criminal. So tonight, we're not going to be doing all that. We come to the Ashton Meet or listen to the radio show. There's podcasts available from the last 3 shows on No Borders Radio. It's a radio station on the internet. And please, please, please do listen to this. If you're interested in this subject, right, you can't afford to miss it, right? I've put up pretty much 2 years worth of research and of information dumped it, so you'll have to listen to 2 or 3 times probably to pick up the facts and information. It is life-changing, and you'll understand more about this, get more depth into this, yeah? I've covered the fact that you're a franchise. How many people in the room knew you were a franchise? 1, 2, 3. Okay, listen to the radio show, explain it, and I bring evidence to prove you are a franchise. If you don't know who you are, how can you possibly start exercising your rights? How can you possibly start talking and asserting your power if you don't even know where that power lies or what you are? Yeah. So this is a gentle introduction. I also cover allegories. New subject, allegories also. Well, there's a whole raft of things to cover. If you go over the last 3 weeks, listen to the podcasts. They're 2 hours long. I promise you'll be going, I didn't know that, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. Because I read a lot of books. And I've got another mantra. I read a lot of books written by very smart people. Some of that rubs off on me. Yeah, so you get smart by reading books written by smart people. Okay, I'm not smart. So we'll have a bit of fun tonight. What we're going to do tonight is just have you examining yourselves. Now, if you don't take part in the exercises, we can have some simple experiments, a bit of social fun. If you don't want to take part, that's entirely okay with yourselves, yeah? But it would be good fun for to take part in it. So you'll be looking to have a neighbour you can work with for some of these simple exercises at the start. And I promise you it'll be difficult. Okay? I'm going to ask you simple questions. The simple questions are the most difficult ones. So for the first hour or so, we'll do meet yourself. You've never had that lesson before, have you? Do you really have free will? I'll play some videos, which will, if you haven't seen them before, will change your view and will make you examine things a lot more closely. And then the second hour, I'll talk about, so see how much time we've got. I could talk about 10 hours on presumption of authority. I'll do that in the radio show. So we'll sort of briefly touch on presumption of authority depending which time we have, yeah? So, 10 will be followed by monkeys. Or is it monkeys leading us? Okay, I'm commonly known as Rob B. I am learning for myself who I am and who I, in inverted commas, I am. Why is that a capital letter, not a small I? Things like that. I started a fascinating journey of self-discovery, and I will now share my findings with you. Some of my findings at a very beginning level. But this is the stuff I wish somebody at the start had taught me. This is not taught me, it was shown me at the very start. It would have cleared my mind of all the cobwebs and programming we've had, yeah, conditioning we've had, and it cleared it out of the way and it moved forward faster. So I'm hoping tonight I can provide a service. Okay, how many of you have read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley? Is it in many in the room have read it, right? This is a really, really good book. It's a British author. I would urge you to go. You can get it on the net, buy a copy. I mean, please do. It's called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. And the essence of it is that you've got the new civilized society living in their steel, city, glass and steel city, and they're all taking drugs to sort of keep everybody happy and calm, and everything's very structured and regimented. And then outside the cities where the savages live, and the savages are living in caves and one thing or another. But however, what it is, it's an analogy for the legal person versus the natural person, or man or woman, whatever you wish to call it. Yeah. So the book's a very, very good book. I don't want freedom. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom, I want goodness, I want sin, said the savage. In fact, said Mustafa Mon, you're claiming the right to be unhappy. All right then, said the savage defiantly, I'm claiming the right to be unhappy. Not to mention the right to grow old and ugly and impotent, the right to have syphilis and cancer, the right to have too little to eat, the right to be lousy, the right to live in constant apprehension of what may happen tomorrow, the right to catch typhoid, the right to be tortured by unspeakable pains of every kind. There was a long silence. I claim them all, the savage said at last. Mustafa Mon shrugged his shoulders. You're welcome, he said. Yeah? That's from Aldous Huxley's book. Another speech by the savage. He's been, because they deem him to be insane in the city, because he's not city-wise, they've locked him up in a mental asylum. And he's managed to sort of break free. He's leaning out a window and he's shouting to the rest of the inmates, don't you want to be free and men? Don't you even understand what manhood and freedom are? Rage was making him fluent. The words came easily in a rush. Don't you? He repeated, but he got no answer to his question. Very well then, he went on grimly. I'll teach you. I'll make you be free whether you want to or not. And pushing open a window that looked onto the inner court of the hospital, he began to throw those pill boxes of soma tablets in handfuls out into the area. Okay, if you read the book, you'll understand a bit more about that. Okay, Pink Floyd did it right. How long ago was that? 79? 78? Pink Floyd The Wall. Right, we're going to have a bit of fun here now. I got this myself, and I must admit, I was like, wow, it was difficult. I thought it was difficult. So again, if you don't want to take part in it, that's fine, but you know, please take part. Okay, so exercise 1, experiment 1. Right, I want you to turn to your neighbour and have him ask him or her, who are you? Okay, so we'll do that, take maybe 30 seconds. If you do one or two, think about it in 1 or 2 sentences, say, looking in their eyes, I am, and finish that sentence, yeah? And then what we'll do is, we'll turn it around and do it the other way around, right? So be honest with yourself, and this will look them in the eyes when you say it. Okay, so have a think, ask the question, have a think, we'll give 30, 40 seconds, and do what you say. Have you got it? You want to turn it around now, do it the other way around. The person who's asking the question before, now gets asked the question. Okay?
Who are you?
I'm me. It's a difficult question, isn't it? Okay? So you can settle down again, guys. We'll move on to the next bit right now. Very briefly, anyone get any points to make with that? Did you find that difficult? As you look at someone in the eyes and saying, I am. If you've been honest, is that, you know, did you paint a nice picture of yourself? Did you tell the truth? Yeah? Okay. Experiment 2 now. I was going to ask him to bring a mirror, but no way you can get it sorted out. So what I ask you to do is to just have some quiet now, please. You looked in the mirror at some point today and you saw your reflection, yeah? So what I'm asking people to do is to shut your eyes and look at, imagine you're looking in that mirror, looking at yourself, yeah? This is the hocus pocus stuff, why this is the reason for this. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, get comfortable looking at yourself in the mirror, and ask yourself, to yourself, don't talk, be quiet please, what you see positive about yourself. Okay, so just close your eyes, imagine you're looking in the mirror and say, what do you see positive about yourself? Are you all being honest with yourselves, yeah? This is yourself you're bullshitting now. And next one is same exercise. Now, again, what you see is negative about yourself. This is when it starts getting more difficult. So shut your eyes again, just imagine looking in the mirror at yourself. What do you see negative about yourself? Be honest with yourself. Any issues there? Did you find something difficult with that one? You haven't been honest with yourself. You can't bullshit yourself, remember. You can bullshit your neighbour. You can't, sorry for using that phrase, but it's true. You can't bullshit yourself. And it's difficult to critically analyse yourself, isn't it? It is hard. I find it hard. Everybody finds it hard to critically analyse yourself and really, truly at yourself. And this is at the start of the journey of self-discovery. It's only when you know where you're starting you start the journey. Yeah? So, is there any comments people would like to make it with that? Did you find that interesting, or did you find that a bit disturbing? I find it disturbing doing it. Everybody's got their own, we're all different, that's the thing. Nobody is right, nobody's wrong, we're all different. Some of us, you know, are different in different ways. So yeah, absolutely, it's a very personal journey, that one. Okay, so the next one is, how's this one interesting? Well, look at me for 30 seconds, and what do you see positive about me? Walking through the gate. It's a very short list, that one. Again, try it again. Negative this time. Look at me, what do you see negative about me? I may as well keep that as your opinion of me, that's your personal opinion of me, positive and negative, right? What I'm going to be showing you short, I'm going to move on to external influences and how someone's behaviour and their demeanour can externally influence you, whether you like it or not, yeah. If I come up here and presented and I was like, people, what I think is, well, I'm pretty sure if you don't mind what we'll do, you go and not listen to this guy. If somebody comes and says, hello, my name is Robin, blah, 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 right? You tend to listen to the person. So how you sell yourself, how you promote yourself externally will affect your audience, and they will respond likewise, yeah? It's a skill that can be learned. Okay, again back to Huxley. A really efficient totalitarian state would be one in which the all-powerful executive of political bosses and their army of managers control a population of slaves who do not have to be coerced because they love their servitude. It's a very deep book, yeah? How many people genuinely think that they love their servitude because they know nothing else? Right, this is who you are. You've got knowledge, interest and experience, and where interest and experience cross is what you naturally like to do. Where your knowledge and your interests cross is what you seek out to learn more of, and who you are is in that bit in the middle where it's knowledge, interest and experience work, yeah? How many people believe that nonsense? Yeah, I know I've said it, oh yeah, actually, yeah, because you would have went along with it. Many would have went along with it. How many people would have went along with that? To me, it's complete utter generation. They teach this in corporations, they teach this in schools, they teach us in universities, yeah? That those three things make you. We're far more complex than that. Absolutely, far more complex than that. And that's simplifying to the point of imbecility, right? Is that corporate model of ourselves realistic? Does it reflect the wild you or the domesticated you? We'll move on to that in the second half. The wild you or the domesticated you? What can you reasonably infer about the person that created that chart? Do you think they work for the company? Do you think they've been trained in university? Do you think they're repeating the bill that's leaving to it? Again, I'm not here to sell you an idea, yeah? Really not here to do that. You know, I could be completely wrong. It's up to you guys to draw your own conclusion, what you think. However, I'm just presenting some information and let people work with it as they will. Huxley, and that, put in the director sententiously, that is the secret of happiness and virtue. Liking what you've got to do. All conditioning aims at that. Making people like their unescapable social destiny as they get around the city. Right, just some thoughts before we get into some videos. Okay, are we really masters of our own destiny? How many of you actually, when you ask a question, who are you? How many of you said, I'm master of my own destiny? Okay? Or it's likewise. Oh, I'm here.
To some degree.
Okay. Do you have a private you and a public you? A good you and a bad you? How much do your value of other people's opinion of you matter to you? How much does this affect the persona you display to the world? When you're out there in the public, is that the real you, or is that a character you've created for this theatre called society? Is that persona truthfully you, or have you created your own principal character to replace your faulty one in that chapter that has been written, and why? And who decides it's faulty or not? How much can your decision-making process and free will be influenced consciously or subconsciously by external influences, with or without your knowing consent? And this is what we're going to go into now, right? What I'm going to try and show with some really big experiments. These are hardcore experiments, yeah, that were undertaken back in the 60s and 70s. A lot of these experiments can never be repeated because they were so gruesome. I mean, not gruesome in the blood and gut sense, but they were so brutal. What they found on them, that they can never repeat these experiments again in a lot of countries, okay? So you're going to see how people, good people, can be easily coerced into becoming really bad, and they'll go along with it, and it's all to do with authority, okay? So if you want to enjoy the vids, Aldous Huxley, one believes things because one has been conditioned to believe them. Absolutely. With all I'm still breaking this training we've had all my life. You know, as a little kid, was it the Vatican said, give us a child who will give it a man or something. So we've all got conditioning. We've got to, it's not all bad, some of the conditioning is good, but we've got to be able to now go back in and rearrange and sort ourselves out and rearrange things and recreate what we are, yeah? Knowing where we are now. So, use of these video clips is for public education purposes. On the fair use doctrine, the right of the respective owners is recognised, okay? So, first one is the spinning room, and this is a very simple example here. And what we've got is it's just a figure that spins round. Some people see it spinning left to right, clockwise, other people see it spinning anti-clockwise. If you shut your eyes and blink and shake your head, look up, you see it changing direction. And what I'm trying to point out here is that you can't trust your eyes. You cannot trust your eyes, you cannot trust your senses. I find if you shake your head and look up, it changes direction. For me, everybody's different. Has everybody got it one or two ways? You can only see it in one way. Yeah? Okay. You can't get heady looking at it too long. Well, let's say you can't trust your own senses, yeah? You can't trust your own senses. They've got us down to science now, they can manipulate senses without you knowing about it. Okay, so video 2, the Asch conformity experiment. This is showing how if there's a group that you can influence people to go along with the group. Okay, people will bend to the will of the group. I think his name, that British Darren, what's his name, Darren Brown. Darren Brown was saying that when magicians go on stage, right? If someone sees how he's done it, do they shut out and go, I've seen how you've done that, you've got a guy at the back here pressing the button? Or do people stay quiet?
Stay quiet.
Why do they stay quiet?
Don't want to spoil the party.
Exactly. And that's how a lot of these guys get away with it. People don't spoil the party. Okay? So the Asch conformity experiment, I apologise about the quality video, it's an old video, it's been put on the net, and it's worth it.
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Asch reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the 5th person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2. 2. 2. 2.
2. 3.
3.
3.
3.
But on the 3rd trial, something happens.
2.
2. 2.
2. 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
1.
Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1.
1.
They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1.
1.
1.
2. 1. 2.
2.
2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2.
2.
2. 2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Asch gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the 3rd position, who also gives the correct response.
1.
1.
2.
1.
2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with a group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Asch. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Asch's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
Okay, so you see what was happening here? Up here. How you can be coerced, or just even choose to just go with the group, even though you know you're right. Yeah. Just with 99 people were saying one thing and you're saying the other thing, does that make you wrong? Yeah. So there's a lot of pressures on us to comply with the group and to get involved in group think, especially if you live in the corporate world or the political world, where you can be seen as an outsider, strange, because you have the same views as everyone else. Yeah. Back in the day of when religion ruled the country, if you didn't believe in the particular church, you know, witch, burn her, or you know. So groupthink is important. You've got to understand when you are allowing yourself to go along with groupthink. Yeah, and sometimes it's better to do that. Sometimes it's good to challenge it. I like challenging it. The Milgram obedience to authority study. This is dynamite. How many people have seen this before? The Milgram one. Okay, this is new for a lot of people, right? This will shock you. What the background to this was, this chap Milgram, who was a bit of a renegade psychologist back in the 60s, did this study, which can never be repeated again. But he did this study where he was asking the questions: why did the German people allow all those people to get killed in the camps? Okay, the guy talking over specifically points to Jews, but Milgram was more into the general mass death. How can you have, because you see these guys, they wives and families, and the guys that are in the camps, wives and families, and they were actually nice people. But how could he possibly do this, yeah? Was it because they were evil, or was there other reasons for it? You'll now find out, okay? So this is 8 minutes, 9 minutes long, so...
In a unique period, from the early 60s to the early 70s, a group of social scientists conducted a series of experiments examining the nature of human behavior and its relationship to social conventions and situations.
In this setting, I allow things to be done to me that I wouldn't allow in any other context. The dentist is about to put an electric drill into my mouth. In this setting, I willingly expose my throat to a man with a razor blade.
Stanley Milgram, one of the most influential social psychologists of the time, was particularly fascinated with the dangers of group behavior and blind obedience to authority.
What is there in human nature that allows an individual to act without any restraints whatsoever, so that he can act inhumanely, harshly, severely, and in no way limited by feelings of compassion or conscience? These are questions.
But he might be dead in there. The experiment requires that you continue teaching. 330 volts.
The experiments that Milgram and others conducted were controversial, and for ethical reasons may never be conducted again. Yet the results of those experiments remain groundbreaking, profoundly revealing about the tensions between the individual and society, and increasingly relevant to contemporary life. In 1962, Stanley Milgram shocked the world with his study on obedience. To test his theories, he invented an that would become a window into human cruelty. In ascending order, a row of buttons marked the amount of voltage one person would inflict upon another. Milgram's original motive for the experiment was to understand the unthinkable, how the German people could permit the extermination of the Jews.
When I learn of incidents such as the massacre of millions of men, women, and children perpetrated by the Nazis in World War II, how is it possible, I ask myself, that ordinary people, who are courteous and decent in everyday life, can act callously, inhumanely, without any limitations of conscience? Now, there are some studies in my discipline, social psychology, that seem to provide a clue to this question. The problem I wanted to study was a little different. It went a little bit further. It was the issue of authority. Under what conditions would a person obey authority who commanded actions that went against conscience? These are exactly the questions that I wanted to investigate at Yale University.
It is May 1962. An experiment is being conducted in the Elegant Interaction Laboratory at Yale University. The subjects are 40 males between the ages of 20 and 50 residing in the greater New Haven area.
Psychologists have developed several theories to explain how people learn. One theory is that people learn things correctly whenever they get punished for making a mistake.
40 years later, Milgram's infamous experiment, obedience, is still taught in classrooms around the world.
Would you open those and tell me which of you is which, please? Teacher. All right, now the next thing we'll have to do is set the learner up so that he can get some sort of punishment.
What inspired Milgram, I would say there were a number of factors. One of them is he was very ambitious. He wanted to make a mark in social psychology. And he wanted, as he wrote to one friend, he wanted to come up with the boldest experiment that he could think of.
Would you roll up your right sleeve, please? This electrode is connected to the shock generator in the next room. And this electrode paste is to provide a good contact to avoid any blister or burn. Do you have any questions now before we go into the next room?
About 2 years ago, I was at the Veterans Hospital in West Haven. And while there, they detected a heart condition. There's nothing serious, but as long as I'm having these shocks, how strong are they? How dangerous are they?
Well, no, although they may be painful, they're not dangerous. Anything else?
No, that's all.
All right, teacher, would you take the test and be seated in front of the shock generator, please, in the next room?
But the experiment was rigged.
The victim was an accomplice of the experiment. The victim, according to plan, provided many wrong answers. His verbal responses were standardized on tape, and each protest was coordinated to a particular voltage level on the shock generator.
Now, as teacher, you were seated in front of this impressive-looking instrument, the shock generator. Its essential feature is a line of switches that goes from 15 volts to 450 volts, and a set of verbal designations that goes from slight shock to moderate shock, strong shock, very strong shock, intense shock, extreme intensity shock, and finally XXX, danger severe shock. Your job, the experimenter explains to you, is a word pair test. If he gets each answer correctly, fine, you move on to the next pair. But if he makes a mistake, you are instructed to give him an electric shock, starting with 15 volts. And you increase the shock 1 step on each error.
Incorrect. You'll now get a shock of 105. Hard hit. Just how far can you go in this thing? As far as is necessary. What do you mean, as far as is necessary?
Milgram was very much aware that obedience is a necessary ingredient for society to function. But he focused on the darker side of obedience.
Incorrect. 150 volts. Sad face.
Wait a minute. That's all. Get me out of here. I told you I had heart trouble. My heart's starting to bother me now.
It's absolutely essential that you continue. You got no other choice, teacher.
Oh, I have a lot of choices. My number one choice is that I wouldn't go on if I thought he was being harmed.
Now, this man makes disobedience seem a very rational and simple deed. Now, other subjects respond quite differently to the experimenter's authority.
Wrong. It's hair. 75 volts, Jim. Please continue.
Some psychologists were troubled by the ethics of it. Many, if not most subjects, found it a highly stressful, conflicted experience. People are stammering, stuttering, laughing hysterically, inappropriately.
150 volts.
Experiment. That's all. Get me out of here. I told you I had heart trouble. My heart's starting to bother me now. Get me out of here, please. Let me out of here. You have no right to keep me here. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My heart's bothering me. Let me out. Let me out.
Clearly, you know, when we say people went to the top of the chalkboard, it wasn't like they were going blithely, sadistically. People went stop and go, stop and go. They were in a state of conflict, which was created a tremendous amount of stress. So that was the main critique.
This will be at 3:30.
As his voice began to show increasing frustration, so did I. And I was really in a state of real conflict and agitation. One of Stanley Milgram's basic contributions was that you don't ask people what they would do given this hypothetical situation. You put them in the situation.
Wrong. I want the 180 volts.
Please continue, teacher.
180 volts.
I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Standing up. I'm not going to kill that man there.
According to Milgram, one of the things that's a prerequisite for carrying out acts that are evil is to shed responsibility from your shoulders and hand it over to the person in charge.
I mean, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman?
I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
All right, next one, slow.
He didn't hold any gun to anybody's head. Just the fact that he conveyed a sense of authority. Roughly 60-65% of the people went all the way to the top of the chalkboard.
450 volts. That's it.
Now continue using the last switch on the board, please. The 450 switch for each wrong answer. Continue, please.
I'm not getting no answer. Don't the man's health mean anything?
Whether the learner likes it or not, we must...
But he might be dead in there.
Milgram made the point, I think, very effectively, that the Nazis weren't all a bunch of psychopaths at Belsen and Dachau. A death camp from the middle class in New Haven.
Well, who was actually pushing the switch?
I was. But he kept insisting. I told him no, but he said he's got to keep going.
What kind of obedience would Milgram get today if he were to do the experiment today?
Probably about the same.
Probably about the same. Why?
I don't know. I think people are just inherently obedient.
It just really shows like how far human beings will go to appease what they perceive to be an authority figure.
Milgram has identified one of the constants, one of the universals of social behavior. The readiness to obey authority cuts across time. It's a constant. The other outstanding and distinctive thing about the obedience experiment is how much it has and keeps on permeating contemporary culture and thought. It's still with us in very, very important ways.
60 to 65% went to 450 volts. After the guy went quiet, they were still pressing that button.
The experiment is flawed.
Why is that?
Because if you're comparing it to places like Alpha, the soldiers are supposed to have seen the people who were killing. They couldn't see the people who were killing. So it's not the same.
Well, I mean, I don't want to make a big story about what happened in the camps. This isn't just in Germany, this is all over the world. But the people were given the orders to do the killing.
The guy was behind the screen. He was not visible. They didn't see him.
That's right. And how many killers actually, at the start of the war, they were actually started off executing them by firing squad. And because the soldiers, so many soldiers are in breakdowns, this is in the German side, so many soldiers are suffering permanent nervous breakdowns and committing suicide, they decided to go over to more mechanical means to give them that distance from the victims. And there's another concept, so thank you for that, there's another concept in the back of that. You've heard of the 6 degrees of distance? You've heard of that theory? If I'm dealing with you face to face, I know I've got to face you, so I'm going to be nice. There's going to be a reciprocal relationship there, so I'll be very aware of who you are, your personality. I don't want to cause harm to you. However, if I'm doing it through someone else, so say I say to my mate, could you go and speak to him or her, blah, 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 that second person knows me and knows you, so they're still close to the individual, even though they don't actually know them personally. So the further away you get in the chain, right, to the point where they say it's the sixth person in the chain, you don't give a damn, because that person ceases to exist. Okay, they're just a number. And they deliberately do this in the system, right? In systems, they try and do that. They build 6 levels of distance between you and, you call it a victim if you wish. So you get 6 levels of people telling you what to do. You're 6 levels distance from them. So you cease to be a human, you cease to have humanity, you cease to understand who they are. And NLP programming is another aspect of this as well. You numerise people. What do they do in the camps? This isn't just a general picking in the Germans here, it's just all over the world. What do they do in the camps? Give them numbers. Cease to give them names. What about prisoners in a prison? They take away their names, you become a number. Right? You dehumanise people. And by dehumanising people, calling them rats and scum and vermin and the other ones and aliens and all these words, yeah, what you're doing is you're taking away that. You're now protecting yourself from facing the fact that that could be you on the other side. That can't be you because I'm one of the elite and he's vermin. So there's constant games, and that's just one experiment. There's a lot of psychology, how they can get people to do things. But the important thing there was, Michael Portillo did a series a couple of years back, I believe it was, where they actually repeated this experiment in Britain. Okay, that's Americans, and it was Americans. He repeated the experiment in Britain a couple of years ago. And what do you think the result we got was compared to that one? Same, exactly the same. They actually, the Dutch did this, a similar experiment, where they actually had someone in the room. So he had the authority figure with his white coat and his glasses. You know, you keep pressing it, you keep pressing. I'll take responsibility, but you keep pressing the button, yeah? So 60% would keep pressing it. They had another person in the room, the Dutch, they tried another way. So instead of just you and the person of authority, they had another individual in the room going, no, don't do that, you're hurting the poor guy, he's not talking anymore, he's going quiet, blah, blah, blah. How do you think that changed the result? Having another person in the room who was not an authority figure, just a janitor or something. How do you think that changed the result? Did it? Exactly the same. Because you will respond to the authority figures. So if you get somebody standing there with a uniform on and being fancy titles and behaving like a professor, telling you what to do, right? And you get somebody there who's just essentially, I don't mean negative with janitors, but somebody there who's not of that sort of standing, telling you not to do it, people will naturally go obey the authority figure. And that's what this experiment indicated. And as I say, they've repeated this under laboratory conditions, very controlled laboratory conditions, because you can see how that messes up people afterwards.
Theron Brown did it as well.
Yeah, there you go. It does affect people. You need counselling after that. Can you imagine if you killed someone? I mean, you not real. You now see yourself. Like, I could have been real. I could have actually killed someone. You don't realise 450 volts will kill. You know, 240 volts will kill you. So that's the Milgram experiment. The bystander and indifference effect. So you're not directly related to the events. You're just the bystander. Would you get involved?
What's the number for an ambulance? What's the number for an ambulance? You know the number for an ambulance? You know the number for an ambulance? This guy looks like he needs some help. I don't know. I don't live here. What's the police number? 999? Maybe, no, I think...
Maybe it's Tara.
I don't know. Let's just call, let's get an ambulance. Hi, here's...
Okay, okay. Wait.
Just asking. Oh, it's okay, he's up. He's up.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thanks.
This is sorry. This is part of a social experiment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So wait. This is part of a social experiment. We want to see whether there's gonna be people helping you when I fall.
Oh.
Okay, so there's a camera over here. So I want to ask you a few questions. Like, why do you help me out?
You look like you needed help.
Oh, okay. So like you had some like a bit of like compassion in that sense.
If I see someone hurt, I'll try and help you.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Thank you. Also another question. If I was like an old man, will you like help me more than if I was a teenager or something?
Same.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
This one.
Thank you. Sorry to worry you.
What happened? Hey. Did it just fall?
Any emergency number? I don't know what
Sorry, I'm alright.
You alright?
Yeah.
Sure?
Okay. Then after that, this is part of a social experiment. Okay. Thank you. Also, before that, we want to ask you a few questions. This is a camera. Sorry to bother you. We want to ask you a few questions. Yeah, like first we want to see whether like Singaporeans will help if they see anyone like falling along the way. Yeah, so like what compelled you to help me in that sense?
I had walked past you, and then I heard the thud, and I turned around, and I thought, this guy's in trouble. So I thought, well, I'll do all I can, but I'm no medical person, and I was looking around for anyone, and I don't know what the emergency number is here.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I'm only busy.
I see. Are you okay? Wait, I'm okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, this is a bit, this is part of a social experiment.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry to give you guys a bad scare. Okay. So this part, so the camera is right there. So you wanna like interview? No. Okay, it's not gonna be on TV or whatever. It's just for like our project. Okay, we just wanna.
We're also doing a school project.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So okay, this is a camera. So basically, we just want to interview not interview. We want to see whether Singaporeans are like have the compassion, whether they are willing to like step out and help other people.
Oh my god.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping. Thank you so much. Anyway, I want to ask you a few questions. Like, what prompted you to help me?
So, because I heard the loud bang, then like, you know, I thought it was like you hit your head or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was like heavy or something. Yeah, some of my friends.
Oh, then, okay. So yeah, thank you so much for helping. Anyway,
yeah, it's okay.
like one last question also. like
I feel betrayed.
sorry. Also, one last question. If I was an elderly man, if I was an older man, like falling down, would you be more like, will you be more prompt to help me? Will you be more?
Yeah, of course. I would probably call the ambulance.
Okay. Yeah, that's it already.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry for bothering you.
4 minutes. 4 minutes, right? Doesn't one woman standing and she's circling around the guy. She's waiting for someone else to come in and take charge of the situation because she's not confident enough. 4 minutes. Close the thing to die of a heart attack.
Where was that?
That was Singapore, I believe it was. But again, it's no. They've got the ones that I could have showed you. It's more harrowing. It's people been knocked down in the middle of the road in London and lying there for nearly 8 minutes before somebody came over to see how they were. Blood everywhere. One in America, the guy's got thrown over the car. His legs snapped backwards, and nobody out to the road to see if he was okay. Cars were driving around him, as if everyone existed. It was only the police arrived, much later on. Luckily survived that one. There was a guy shot in the stomach in a robbery. Again, blood everywhere. He's lying in the ground screaming. In the middle of the day, it was in New York that one, and people just walked past him. Right? This happens everywhere. Again, there's the bystander effect. I don't get involved. I'm busy. I've got things to do. I don't get involved in this.
Dehumanise it.
Yeah. However, they did another experiment where they had someone in a set of steps dressed, the same person. They're dressed in a fancy suit, carrying a briefcase, fall over, people over him straight away. Can I help you with something? What's up with you? When he dressed scruffy, put a bit of heavy gear on, he dressed scruffy and his shorts and stuff on, fell over, he lay there for like 10 minutes again.
I was in Preston on Friday.
Yeah.
And I was walking down Friday and saw a chap come out of a bar, immediately fall down. He was scruffy. Within seconds, about 3 or 4 people around him.
Yeah.
And at least 2 phoned 999.
He was lucky. Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
I come from a small village.
Because I have my phone with me, I would have done if they hadn't done.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the city centre of London and it's markedly different. So I'm just saying, it's an interesting. It depends where you are, what the conditions of the country you're in, whether you're a city or the countryside, whatever. A lot of people will keep walking.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit. but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
So the lesson here is not the leader people follow, it's the followers that people follow. Yeah, it's really interesting. That was just something that happened, somebody videotaped it, and that wasn't a setup, that genuinely happened, it spontaneously happened, and it showed you the first person's up there, he's a nutter, and there's somebody else joining them, pure lunatics. But they're having such fun, you know, and they're dancing, we don't give a shit, we're dancing like lunatics. Third person joined them. There's people starting to watch now, they're having fun, these guys, and I'm sitting here like, bored, you know, listening to me dribbling on at the nonsense in the fourth and fifth and sixth. And once you get to that sixth person, suddenly you have a movement, and then somebody's like, yeah, let's join the party. And that became huge. Did you know that the American Revolution, only 4% of the population actually took control of it? 4% of the people were involved in the revolution, 96% were just sitting on the sidelines. So the 4% created a movement, and the 96 just went along with it. Okay? And you'll find that 45% is a key figure. Time and time again through history, right? All revolutions, all changes, all movements, right? Once you get to that 45% of the population, you don't need a majority. Between 4 and 5% of the population, you have a movement. Because you're no longer the nut at the bottom of the street. Here's a question, how many people here think they're a nutty? How many people here think they're a nutter at the bottom of the street? Okay? So there's a valid lesson. It's how we sell ourselves. What we're saying is right. We know we're right. Okay, 99 people are wrong. We're right. Yeah? Because you get information on our side, we get research, all this good stuff, right? Why are people not listening to us? Because we need to learn how to sell ourselves. And we'll cover that in the second half. Okay.
It's a fairly swift one. 7 minutes.
Okay, no problem. Hello, testing. Yeah, once again, thank you for inviting me this evening. I have been asked to speak slower, so I do apologise for strong Wigan accent. I will try to speak slower, okay? It sounds silly for me to speak slowly, I hear myself. Short of the first half is, a lot of people came here expecting me to tell you who you are. I can't do that. Only you can tell yourself who you are. Yeah, nobody else can, and this is the lesson you have to learn. All our lives, people telling us, this is who you are, this is what you want to be, this is what you aspire to, this is what you can't do, this is what you can do. And the big step is now deciding for yourself, so actually, this is me. I'm not that person, this is me. So that's the lesson from the first half. I would like to say, I'm not trying to tell you who you are. Only you can do that. So, he told you who you are, what you believed in. They've all been told who they are. When you dedicate yourself to a group, there is no limit to what you can do. They have all been told who they are. Not many left, but there's a few that still been told who they are. The Church of England. She's telling you what to do. He's telling billions of people what to do. He's telling her what to do. What's the difference to that policeman you saw before? What's the difference? One rules by fear, one rules by respect. If he came up to you and said, please stop doing that, would you do it again? Would you do it, stop doing it? You go, yeah, sorry mate. Guy comes and said, stop, paramilitary with his helmet on and a shield, stop doing that. You would immediately respond, this immediate human reaction, you would respond to that likewise. So if someone comes at you aggressively, you respond aggressively. I know this is a sort of mythical Dixon Doggerine figure, however, if someone comes up to you and says, please stop doing that, you would tend to do it, okay? Saluting you with a nice smile on his face. He doesn't look aggressive, does he? You know, he can do if you will, because he did it with 6'6", these guys. Why are these guys funny? This is another bit of psychology again, very clever, right, the Keystone Cops. Because they're dressed as corporate, they're dressed in a corporate uniform, doing a corporate job. However, what you're seeing there is not the corporate man, you're seeing the human, you're seeing the man behind it. There's a bit of a lunatic. There's like a bit of a laugh. Messes around all the time. And you don't expect to see people in uniform behaving that way. So this is why we find it funny. Is this, I was speaking too quickly? This is why we find it funny, because it's the man who's in the uniform talking and not the legal person who's talking to you, yeah? Not the corporate person. Look at the desk sergeant, eyes crossed, yeah? He told people what to do. And I think there's over 1 million people died there as a result of him telling people what to do. And he's not alone, there's a lot of them.
Only 100,000.
Only?
Yeah.
Fair enough, friend.
He wants to take it out.
Okay. So the first half experiment, the Milgram experiment, do you think he doesn't know this, all these experiments, how to socially control people? Do you not think, when they started this social engineering as a science 60 years ago, right? Do you not think that in that 60 years have got us down to a fine art now, the science of manipulating people? Yes, they have. And he used it very successfully. What he sold was not a product. What he sold was a dream. Martin Luther King started his speech, I have a dream. He didn't say I have a 5-year plan.
Yeah, they blew his brains out.
Exactly. These people sell us dreams, and we blame, oh yeah, we'll follow the dream. If he comes through with it, that's good. If he doesn't, you know, I'll whinge about it, whine, tell my friends what, you know, and we'll be negative about it. Who's at fault there? Is he at fault? Or are we at fault for falling for the same old claptrap time and time and time again? So you go out there and if people blame him, I don't blame him. He's doing a very good job of what he's intending to do. He's doing a fantastic job. We are the ones at fault. And this is what we've got to look at ourselves. We are the ones at fault. Bullying is not part of the job. I'd say a lot of jobs out there do require bullying. However, they redefine the word bullying to suit their occasion. If you're looking for a definition of bullying, the Health and Safety Executive has got a fantastic definition on the Health and Safety Executive website, okay? Quote it. Right, now we'll get into a little bit of the legal stuff. I'll just touch on the legal stuff. As I say, if you really want to go into this to a bit more depth, listen to the radio shows. The domesticated legal you, right? So what I'll introduce you to is how they've captured us. The forain nature, that's a legal definition. Animals that are wild by nature are called forain nature, and possession is a means of acquiring title to such animals. The mere chasing of an animal forain nature does not give one party the right to title against another party who captures it through intervention. If, however, a wild animal is either killed or caught in a trap so that the capture is certain, the individual who traps or mortally wounds it acquires a vested right to possession and title that is not defeatable by another's intervention, right? What legally is gobbledygook there, okay? What it means is, if you own a piece of land and a wild animal crosses your land, your property, yeah, if you capture that animal or kill it, you gain possession title to it, yeah? You gain title by possessing it, yeah? If you just chase it and hunt it, it doesn't belong to you. But if you capture it, and the definition of capture in the old legal dictionaries, it must be a spring-loaded device. How many people have been into court in this room? Just hear quick. How many people have been into court? How many people went into court with the door not spring-loaded? The door slammed behind you, spring-loaded. Right? The doors in the court are spring-loaded. When you walk through, the door closes behind you. Okay? So anyway, that's an old legal definition of the word capture. However, but remember, the main thing is you must capture a wild animal on your property. If you capture it and trap it or kill it, you then have possession title to it. What you don't have, like you have with domesticated animals, is absolute title. I'll try not to get too technical there. Absolute title is equitable and legal title, yeah. So you've got limited title rights, traditional title rights, and hereditary wild animals. Okay, we'll start talking American Indians and Aborigines and all sorts of good. And us as well, we'll start talking about that soon. We are wild animals. Used to be. It should say foray domite, sorry, that was my misprint there. It should say foray domite, right? That's animals which are of a nature easily tamed and may be readily domesticated, willing to surrender themselves to authority, wear a brand and consent to rules. Okay, so a domesticated animal is a slave. So you've seen the film, you've seen a series, some of you may have seen it, a series in the 70s, Roots. Have you seen that film, the series Roots in the 70s? You may not have seen it, where it's African slaves. And they capture this young chap called Kunta Kinte from Africa, take him over to America, and they beat him till he accepts the name Toby. What they've done is they've captured the wild animal, they've chained him, so they've captured him, and then they want to domesticate him. So to domesticate him, you must accept a new name, you must accept their brand, their name. I will not talk about franchises, because that's what we're talking about now. I'm not talking about franchises. The radio show have covered that in my podcasts. So essentially, you've now changed from wild animal by dint of being captured into a domesticated animal. Did you know, sorry, the child of a slave is your slave. So if a lady, a woman, slave has a child and you own her, you then own the child as well. Same if you have a chicken and they lay eggs, you own those eggs, right? This is domesticated animals. So it becomes shocking to people who find that this is how they've got us. We are deemed to be domesticated animals. Blackstone's commentaries, this is a high authority in English law. A man may be vested with a qualified but not an absolute property in all creatures that are hereditary, either per industriam, propter quotientam, or propter privilegium. Right. What that means is you can capture him by physically capturing him in a trap, him or her. By impotency of the animal, that means the animal's too dumb to run away, yeah, or it's injured. Think of that one, too dumb to run away. Or by privilege. Think of the old royal forests. This is the king's forest, only I can hunt the deer there. So he can claim qualified title to all the deer in his forest because he said so. How many people see themselves as domesticated animals or undomesticated animals? This is me going back into who you are, okay? It's unpleasant. We like to think we're free, we like to think we've got a free will. I think in the first part we touched on psychologically, a lot of the time we think we're making a decision, it's not us making a decision. Our decision is affected by external factors to the point where you don't know. It's difficult to tell where you're making the decisions yourself, where you're responding to external factors. In this case, we're now talking legally, okay? So they then domesticate us. We're born as domesticated animals. We're branded. We're given a name, a brand, which doesn't belong to us, it belongs to the crown. It's cooperated. Okay, your name's cooperated, capital letters. I'll explain how in shortly. And question I'm not going to spend too much time on because it's a big debate. Were you born wild or domesticated? I've already given the answer to it. People argue, oh, I was born free, I was born free. Okay.
If we're the sons and daughters of slaves, then we're their property.
Right, difference between us, here's an interesting one for you, and I'll give you the legal definition of the word slave, right? A slave has no right to contract. That's it. End of story. He has no legal presence, he has no legal certainty, and no legal identity. Other than being a possession, he has no legal identity. He has not got the ability to enter or break contract. Okay? He has to do everything through his master, by force, or choice. Then you get a serf, or a servant. A serf or a servant has voluntarily most of the time, has voluntarily surrendered part of his ability to make contracts, okay? So part of his ability to enter into contracts or break contracts, he surrendered to his master to deal with. There could be reasons for that. It could be something so complex, he doesn't understand it. So he has to pass it on to his master, who's more competent in these matters.
Basically, you're talking about the feudal system here, aren't you?
Yeah.
Which,
So, yeah.
because the king, William the Conqueror, took it over from the Saxons, he owns the country, he owns the slaves, which we are.
Yeah, well, we're not slaves, and this is it. Yeah.
Now we're bonded slaves.
You have to, now we're talking bonded servants, yeah. Bonded servants. The talk of doing human trafficking and slavery, because in the depth explains everything you need to know. We're going to do that this evening. And the talk of doing franchises, again, William the Conqueror, talk about that, what actually really happened and how they caught us. A free man or a free woman, a sovereign man or a sovereign woman, has full power to contract and to break contract. So see the difference between a free man, and I say man, we're all men now, equality, we're all men, yeah. Please don't be offended, ladies, we're all men. Actually, I've had a look at some of the ladies down in the Ashton Meet now are calling themselves Mr. Because you've been given, you got a slight diversion here. You were emancipated, you were given the legal standing of a man back in the 1820s, yeah? And great stuff, yeah, fantastic, all for it. Then what do? You dump that and call yourself Mrs., which means belongs to man. So you're born as a man, then you surrender that and become a miss. That means you get no standing, no title. And then you get married and become Mrs., which means belongs to Mr. It's a naval term, right? Maritime law, keep away from that. So you've got every right to start calling yourself Mr. Why do you call yourself Mrs.? You're now dropping their standing down to a lower level. And you're now actually playing your game, you're becoming more of their servant by doing that. Another talk for another day, yeah? But just bear that in mind, right? Why do you call yourself a woman? Why not call yourself a man? You've got equality. Yeah. This is legal now, this isn't the real world, this is the legal world, yeah? Why does the legal world like call people men and women? Why do they want to go for male or female? I thought we're all equal. Why should the courts care whether we're men or male or female? It's because of a different standing. Anyway, anyway, how were you captured? Now for brand new people, this will come blur, a shock, right? Under maritime law, they got you under 2 or 3 different jurisdictions, but the prettiest one is under maritime law, your mother, who had a ship's husband, and that is a naval term, with a ship's husband, his job is to look after the cargo, the stock of the ship, and retain its value, right? That's his job. So he makes sure the animals on the ship are kept fed and watered, and any offspring are belonging to the captain, and the ship's watertight and well maintained. That's the job of a husband. It's a maritime term. What I would suggest you do is, if there's a website out there, for those who've got a pen and paper, there's a website called archive.org, 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 and there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of books on there for free. Good books, not the new modern corporate ones, proper old books, yeah? And you get loads of free dictionaries. Do not, I hardly read legal dictionaries now, I don't care about legal dictionaries. All of these terms are derived from commerce, they derive from maritime, they derive from military law, and nobody looks at military dictionaries. The chief executive of your local council, what are they? A chief executive is a military term. Right? Secretary, we know, I won't cover here tonight, but something I noticed just last week there. Where's all the ministries gone? We've now got departments in government. Where's all the ministries gone? Departments are a military term. As is district. A district is an area that can be defended by one troop.
A minister is a ministry is a
ecclesiastical.
Yes.
That's why Parliament serves in Westminster, because we've got a trial by combat in Westminster, with both parties facing each other, and the arbitrator is the church, right? And that's another story for another day. Anyway, back to this one. How are you captured? Your mother delivered you Funny word, that delivered. You deliver parcels, don't you? It's a gift. I actually found out the word educate, just found it a couple of weeks ago. Sorry about this. The word educate, duke, in the middle of educate, comes from the Indo-European word dukie. And a dukie was a girl who was gifted to the local church, or the local religious order, the local temple, who was gifted by the family to the local religious temple to be raised by the local religious temple, obviously working and cleaning and doing all the stuff, yeah? And by gifting your oldest daughter, one of your daughters, to the temple, you gain social standing. So, dukie. We've got dukes in this country, haven't we? Have a think of all this stuff. They're gifted to the king. Anyway, so it's real interesting looking at dictionary, looking at these words and where they come from, yeah? So educate is what you do to dukies. You educate them. And I think it's still here in the UK. Dukies. Right, authority. We'll move on to the presumption of authority, okay? All authority is presumed. All authority. We'll look at some coats of arms, because what a coat of arms is a book in pictorial form. People walk past these things, do not look at them twice. Heraldry is a really, really interesting area to look into. It tells a story, and I could talk for 2 hours just on that one picture. I can explain to you what the government is, who's in charge, who they answer to, who the nightly orders are, whether we're maritime, whether we're in law of the land. I can explain so much about that. You've heard of the Bill of Rights, the right to bear arms?
Yeah.
Okay, right to carry guns, people think it is. There's a pointer. Those are the arms. So you're displaying to the world, if you piss me off, or you annoy me, these guys are going to come in and kick your backside. So that's you presenting your shield, letting them know, do not attack me, because these guys here are going to mess your day. Okay, anyway. What's the highest thing on this coat of arms?
Crown.
What's above the crown? People don't see this stuff. What's above the crown? Is that a symbol there, isn't it?
No.
Top of there?
You know. Is that
Maltese cross. That's the top of the crown. So the lion represents the king or queen, the monarch. The crown is Privy Council, City of London, Cabinet, Parliament, the rest of it all together, forms the crown, and above that you get the Maltese cross. I'm not making this up, this is the Knights of Malta. It tells you there who runs the country. And if you look through the Queen's long titles, a page and a half long, she's head of so many knightly orders. We flagged as England, well, we flagged the English usual football games. The Red Cross, what's it called again?
The Nation Cross.
St George. St George was a knightly order. Yeah, the Hospitallers. Scotland uses the St Andrew's Cross, so that's the Knights of St John.
Is also the patron saint of Malta.
Yeah, there you go, absolutely, absolutely. And if you put the Knight of the Cross of St John and the Cross of St George together, you get the Union Jack, right, which is a maritime phrase, by the way. So what you're actually doing when you wave the Union Jack is showing off knightly symbols of knightly orders. It messes your head. Okay, the point I want to make here at capture, the main point of this thing was capture. The king, the English king, right, has not been threatened, so he doesn't have to look at this beast on the right, which is Scotland, okay? So he's the aggressive beast, yeah? And he's looking at it that way because he's not afraid of this thing here. Why not? Did you know that under heraldry, the unicorn represents the wild beast of the forest? Okay, if it's got one horn, it means it's dangerous. So it's a dangerous wild beast. If it's not got a horn, it means it's not dangerous. It's been domesticated. So it's still a wild animal with its horn. And do you notice something strange there? How many people have noticed that looking at the coat of arms?
Chain.
It's chained to the ground. They captured it. So they couldn't tame it, they couldn't domesticate it. Scotland, so what they have done is chained it to the ground. And it's green, So it's chained to the land, chained to the ground. Okay? The thing at the bottom there, who's the scroll is based on, is the basis of everything above it, is God and my right. So who's the highest authority that everything's based on is God. And the Maltese orders are godly order. So God and my right. So what they're saying there is that because of God presents the authority by which you get your rights. Right to what? Right to own us. The right to capture us on the land. Here's an interesting little diversion. The word peace. I'm going to mess with your heads here. The word peace. Okay? War is when the ownership of servants, a servant class of people, is contested. So two kings or princes will declare war on each other to claim that group of servants. That's what war is, yeah? Peace comes from the old French word P-A-I-S. I don't do French, but pays, yeah? Comes from pays. And essentially what pays means is it means servant, servile. So the word peace means servant. What it means is, during a period of peace, the king or whoever's ownership of those people is not being contested. Next time we see that word peace, you'll go, that means I'm a servant and nobody's contesting the fact I'm his servant. This is the Scottish coat of arms. Okay? Was it at the top there? Above everything else? In defence. We'll cover that. And to understand England, you also have to look at Scotland, because a lot of the stuff that was hidden in England, they can't hide if you look at Scotland, and vice versa. Okay? Again, things are back to front now. Okay, which is a meaning, but I don't want to go into that. The king's in red, so he's a live man. Right, he bleeds, he's a live man. The English king's gold, he's gilded, he's painted, he's a character. Whereas the Scottish king, if you're in Scotland, the king is not king of the land, he's only king of the people. You will believe this very shortly as things happening north of the border, right? In England, the queen is queen of England land. Okay, she owns the land. Remember what I said? For re nature, if you own the land, you can claim all of the animals which cross that land. She's not king of you or me. She's king, queen of the land. You're crossing that land. She's going, whoa, I have that. Now, if it was a wild animal, she could say, I'm having that, I have possession of the title. However, it's a domesticated animal that's entered her property. So what she'll do is she'll look around and say, is this your chickens? To the neighbours. If the neighbours go, don't know anything about these chickens, don't know, oh, I'll have them. I'll put my brand on them. Okay? So remember, she's Queen of Scots and Queen of Scotland, and this is why on the title of the Queen, they say Queen Elizabeth II. In Scotland, she's Queen Elizabeth I. You never had a Queen Elizabeth before, yeah? Because if they have to start talking about her Scottish side, it exposes that she's Queen of Scottish people in Scotland. The people own the land. Watch your space. It's going to be really interesting north of the border. And if you, another little diversion, if you look at the referendum, Scottish referendum, they're trying to cut off what the guys in Scotland are pushing forward of claiming ownership, total, absolute ownership of the land by bringing in this referendum. This is the real background to it. And if you actually read the Act in Parliament that they voted on for this, it's called the Scottish Referendum Franchise Act, in brackets. Right? So we talk about franchises tonight. They're there. You're an enfranchised voter. Yeah? It's a contractual agreement. Being a franchise is a contractual agreement. How many people have asked to see a copy of that contract? I have. Yeah? Get the phone put down on me. The guy saying taking things too literally. No, it's the law. There's a franchise. There's one definition for that word franchise. Could I please have it? I won't go into franchises. It's really interesting. Okay, so in defence is the highest thing, the Scottish one. Oh, done again. It's on green land again. You see all the symbols and the flowers. These are all knightly orders. And the unicorns chained down. Okay. What's the king got in his hands? A sword, and it's not a cross, it's just a parchment, it's actually the Declaration of Arbroath, right? But they could have a cross in their hand and a sword. We'll cover it shortly. Those are the two main versions how you get power to control people, how you control the land, by religion or by the sword. And that's the big ones.
Is that the sceptre in the English Parliament?
Yeah, that's a claim of territory, yes it is. Yes it is. That's why Cromwell threw it to the floor. Get rid of this bauble. Right, and Scotland, the thing they talk in defence means, in my defence, God we defend. So what the Scottish King says, I will defend God if he defends me. There's no claim of right there like the English one, is there? I own the people shall have all the rights. Big difference. This is the Royal Arms of James V. This is a Scottish king before James VI first. And you notice something really interesting here. So you see him again, right? He's holding the parchment and the sword. Blah, blah, blah. This is really old. But you know, this is actually two unicorns. One is getting named Jacob or James. Okay, so that's the man. And then it's got correct, king. That's the king. So it's the same thing, but it's his natural man, his man, and that's the legal person, his legal persona on this side. And see, fly different flags. If you see that flag by the Scottish football games, most Scottish fans don't know this. That's the flag of the man. And that's the flag, it's a red lion. And that's the saltire, the knightly order, okay? But you know something very different, it's very interesting there. See the chain coming down from the king, it's touching the ground, isn't it? Do you all see that? The man, is it touching the ground? It's just that far off the ground, isn't it? So the man's not chained down. They know this stuff about capturing animals. He's making a huge statement. You have not captured me. I'm my man. Attack me and I'll come back and kick your backside, is what he's saying. Okay? So, another old coat of arms. This is the Stuart family. Mary Queen of Scots and all these characters. Charles Stuart, Charles I, Charles II, etc. They're all Stuart family. Do you know something interesting about that? Is it touching the ground? Okay. I forget what quick king this was one of our Scottish kings. But you see, none of these are touching the ground. Obviously, so not touching the ground. If you go north of the border, you see a lot of people have actually, what they do is if you see the chain, they'll carve one of the lights out of it. If it's in stone, they'll carve it out. Seriously. Okay? See the red king, and the crown's totally different. There's no like Knight of Malta on it. It's Knights of St John, the crown is. Fascinating area to study. This is one of the Welsh ones. What do you think the dragon represents? Any Welsh people in the room? Oh, okay. We'll see. What do you think the dragon represents? Not just a wild creature. Damn dangerous creature. That thing is, that's a weapon of mass destruction. It's not just somebody carrying a sword. This thing is a weapon of mass destruction. And if you look at how dragons, when they first started being used in the coats of arms, it's the time of Edward I when he took over the Welsh. The Welsh were a real threat, not physically a threat, to a certain extent they were, but their claim on the English title was a threat. Their claim to the land was a threat. History lesson for another day. He's on green, so he's on the land. Yeah. He's captured. And the crowd's on top of him. Okay, so he's been captured. The dragon has been captured. They can't chain it to the ground because it's a dragon, so they do is they encase it in a cave. Yeah. The symbology is leaking out of this. The conclusions you draw from that. That's a portcullis. It can be used to defend you and to capture you. Okay? The Parliament uses that portcullis there, and the portcullis is a means of capture, which is kind of woody. Okay, so The individual. So you've got an idea now of capture, right? This isn't just somebody making this up. You can please check this yourself, right? Go into the old books, read the dictionaries, read the law books, the old law books, and you'll find all about this capture. Very interesting to look at slavery. Because slavery is where it tells you this stuff, how they did it, how they took over, for example, Australia. People have lived there for 45,000 years in Australia. And suddenly one day somebody came in and said, no flags on this land. We've got a Union Jack in the land. Yeah? Because they didn't have a legal system in Australia or concept of ownership of land. So we came along with a flag in the ground. That's us, that's our land now. Yeah, we are mates. And by the way, you aren't registered, are you, with anyone? Nobody's got a claim on you. Nah. And you're on our land. Yeah. We just captured you guys. You now belong to us. We've got possessory title over you. Same with the American Indians, so Native Americans, you know, Eskimos, so they do like that word, Eskimos, always different. This is how colonialism happened. Flag in the ground. It's our land, you're crossing it, you now belong to us. Okay? This is what William the Conqueror did. Flag in the ground. Okay, he refused to recognise the English Anglo-Saxon system. So he didn't recognise that law, so there was no law governing ownership of the land. So he brought in a new concept of franchising, means Frenchizing. Yeah. So this individual, again, words, individual, all of those and more, right? So you as a whole are all of these different personalities in one whole. They call it the individual, yeah? Be careful with your words. So you get the man, woman, sentient, living being, spiritual creature of divine providence, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever you believe in, that's fine, right? The natural person, which is the legal definition of that, so that's the law recognises that. They've got to create you into a person. Then the legal person, the corporation, the fiction, spiritual person, I'm going to introduce you to a new person. The allegorical person. As anyone in the room does theatre, an actor, an actress who does theatre, right, okay, when you go on stage, right, you play a role in the theatre, yes? You play a part, right? They give you a name. You say, I am James Bond, yeah? But away from that yourself, one day. Okay, what they do, this is, they talk about courtsmen in theatre and the actors, they actually use these terms, right? And they talk about the actors in an event in Parliament or whatever, right? They use all this theatrical analogy. The union for the actors is called equity union, for those who know equity. It's called equity union, which is really interesting. What they've done is they've created a story written by scribes or clerks or clerics, right? So that's why you get court clerk and county clerks and council clerks and borough clerks, right? These guys write the story.
Town clerks.
Town clerks, clerks everywhere, absolutely, everywhere. So the other clerk's job is to write. He tells a story. Birth, death, marriage, that tells a story. So somebody's writing a book. There's a principal character involved in that book, or principal characters. And so the question you've got to ask is, are you the author of your book? Are you a principal character? And are you merely the reader, being dragged along in an unfolding drama? Or are you taking control of that book and writing your own story? Yeah, then someone else writing a story, or you're writing your own story. And this is not Fantasyland. This is what's happening. They're writing your story, right? They've copyrighted our names as a principal character. It sounds like our name. So somebody called John Smith, they'll give you a character name called John Smith. So the two sound similar. And there's I forget the actual term, there's a concept in Latin where if someone says one name, you can't say you heard something similar. Right? The judges can do this. So if you went into court, say my name is John Smith, small case, a proper case, or first letter capitalised, the judge will hear all capitals. Okay, because it sounds the same. So you give them the option. So that's where you need to start narrowing down and defining who and what you are. So if you don't do that, you're allowing them to draw presumptions and assumptions. Okay? And a screenplay, and this is stuff I found, in a screenplay, a play, script, a cartoon, a piece of written music, they are called allegories. That's a story. Yeah? It's something that represents real life but is not real life. Yeah? An allegorical character or an allegorical title is an element of that story. The principal character's name in these plays and scripts and stories, etc., is always written. So the principal characters' names, to give them standing, make them stand out, is always written in capital letters. Now you know why the all caps thing's happening. There's a lot of nonsense we talked about it. This is why, okay? So they write the story. They've given you now, you could go as so James Bond, they say there's your name, you're now James Bond, however, we own that name. Right? We copyright that name. Again, it's a big story, but we will copyright that name. You can call yourself James Bond, but what happens if you want to use a name that's copyrighted or play a piece of music which is copyrighted? You have to pay for the privilege, don't you? Yeah? So be aware what that is. Copyright. And it's registered in the City of London. Understand, it's registered in the City of London. We will never get access to those records. A lot of the stuff you can only work out by joining the dots. They will never tell you. You've got to dig and read old books and get information. I'll go back to like 1300 for information and then bring it all together and you go, ah, that's how they've done it. The truth is, guys, you are the true authority. End of, right? Other people can take authority from you if you choose to give it away or you choose to surrender it, yeah? Or through violence or force. You have surrendered entirely or in part your ability to be your own authority, which is all well and good in society. We do have to do that. We can't have some lunatic running around not afraid of the rest of society. So we do have to, in a society, surrender part of who we are, our authority. However, we've got to know where that line is and stop. When they take more than that, they're now trespassing on us, yeah? So, it can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the balance and who you have surrendered your authority to and under which circumstances. I should have a picture, Tony Blair up there again. Who are you surrendering your authority to? And if that authority, that guy who's got outfits taking your authority changes, as I tell you it has, it just has again, the whole government has now changed again, right? It's a new contract, it's a new plantation owner. You start calling the UK, once you read slavery laws, start reading slavery history, you will start referring to UK as a plantation. That's what it is. So, if they do change, the guys at the top, that's a new contract. You go, actually, I don't want to play with you on a new contract. I don't want you guys in charge. I don't imagine, but there has been a leveraged buyout of the UK. Another story. So you were captured by the previous outfit. So the new outfits come in, change the rules. How many laws have we had in the last 10 years? Some 10,000 plus new laws. Does that not tell us a new company come in? There's a new company running the show. They didn't like the old rules of the old company, so they've decided to write a lot of new rules. Okay? Think of companies. And others. I would say we can surrender. We're under military law now, we're surrendered. I have covered this in my radio show, I won't do it tonight. We are now under emergency powers. This country has been for some time. Okay, we've always been under it.
How far away from martial law is that?
It's degrees. What is martial law? There's degrees of emergency. MI5, if you go on the MI5 website, they've got degrees of emergency. It starts at severe, imminent, oh, hell's going to break loose. I think it's down to sort of, I forget the bottom one's called now. I forget what it's called now. There's the 5 levels of emergency. Something jumps out at you. There's no level that says nothing happening. Peace.
We're at DEFCON 2.
Yeah, we're not in a state of emergency. See what they've done there, they've got us in permanent state, they've got us in stories of a house gets flooded, never happened before apparently, right? A house gets flooded in a floodplain, and suddenly BBC, and everybody's running around, and ministers, so we must sort this out. It's because there's no terrorists attacking the country. There's nobody threatening the country. So you have to invent new things. You go back to Agenda 21, Morris Strong, little story. They've now created a new enemy. Okay, it's called weather. Okay, so the MI5 website says if you see a threat, phone them up. Right, so, hello MI5, it's raining. Yeah. And I saw who did it, his name's God. So God's now a terrorist. Okay? You see they've got to create a state of emergency to drive through all this crap they're doing, right? They can circumvent the Constitution, they can, and it's happened in history, a lot of times in history, they can circumvent common law, they can circumvent all the laws, all the customs and traditions, and all we hold good in this country under emergency powers. Listen to the radio show, I bring stuff to the table. I do my last radio show, I explained England has been broken up into city regions, now city states. Okay, fact. Absolute fact, right? I'll mess with everything you believe that. I can bring black and white to the table. They can no longer hide it. They've actually got publications out there now explaining this, right? We now live in city regions, Greek city states, okay? What we see in Ukraine, diverting slightly, what we've seen in Ukraine is they create these little city states. What happens is, instead of having the multiple layers that we used to have in Britain, the parochial layers and the borough layers and the county layers and the judiciary, it's all checks and balances, yeah? When you start doing that and bring them all together into a unitary state, and you were reading the official websites now, they're now calling Britain not a constitutional monarchy, not calling us, you know, a parliamentary sovereignty, they're now calling us a unitary state. Okay?
Is that?
Keep your eyes open for that stuff.
Is that related to unitary authorities?
Yes.
Blackpool is
same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Means they're bringing everything, uniting all these different jurisdictions into one whole. However, that means instead of having lots of independent people being involved, you have one small council management, one small management committee now. If I was a criminal with a lot of money, and some big guys with guns and sticks, and I find out there's a little committee of 12 people running a city region worth billions, yeah? Would you not be tempted to go in there and use your financial muscle and your physical muscle to get control of that? All you're doing is just, what Henry VIII did to the Catholic Church, he just removed the Pope. He was all there and put himself in charge. Ukraine's gone up in flames because all the towns and cities have been taken over by criminal gangs because they did this. Okay, we cannot let it happen, you guys.
Because England does not exist constitutionally now.
Yeah.
Only as a piece of land.
Yeah.
It's no longer.
Yeah.
So
It's a geographical area, jurisdiction.
When the England team takes the pitch, it isn't a country they're representing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do? I'm tired of hearing it said that democracy doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. We're supposed to work it. We haven't been allowed them to do this. Right, from authority derives power. Okay, so another, I could speak for 10 hours on this. Authority, something written, authored, right, derives power. Okay, two main types of authority: sword, sparky gun, or the church. Okay, and there's actually a fight going on between the Vatican and everyone else at the moment. You've probably seen this happening. So anyway, so and someone says to you, what's your name? And you go, my name is Mr. John Smith. Do you realise you just surrendered power by giving your name? Do you know this? Never, ever, ever do it. If you surrender the name, and I use that word surrender, if you surrender the name to anyone, what you're doing is you're providing an intent to form agreement. You only provide the name if you wish to provide intent to form agreement. So somebody says to you on the phone, hi, is that Mrs. Joe Smith? Yeah, this is Joe. Yeah, I make up names now, I just make up names. Because if you say, yes, this is Mrs. Joan Smith, right, you've now said to them, yes, I'll be happy to contract with you. Okay, watch that one. That's how they capture us.
Can we say that we are the legal occupier?
Use whatever name you want. I wouldn't use the occupier, would you? That's military. You're now on the other side.
I feel quite military at times.
You're a belligerent on the military law,
yes.
right? What we're doing, we're going to be moving forward with this, declaring neutrality, okay? Rather than being a belligerent and an occupier, start flying the white flag and declaring yourself as neutral. Far more powerful place to be, however. Power, it can be voluntarily surrendered. You can't have slaves, people who choose to be slaves. So these people choose to be slaves, right? You can be involuntarily surrendered, captured. The authority of the many versus the authority of the individual. This is the ongoing argument. And the government's trying to tell us that the authority of the many, the well-being of the state, it's in law, the well-being of the state, the economic well-being of the state as priority. And to dump down the individual. England, and we use this, England is absolutely opposed. If you look at English history, right, that is complete opposite of what England stands for. England, up till maybe the mid-50s, was, if you said to them that the many run the country, they go, what is individuals that run the country? Individual rights took priority over the multitude rights. Because who decides what the multitude rights are?
Individuals.
No, government does. They can twist and bend that to say whatever they want. They can use whatever dodgy means, okay? The 1940 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So it's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. Brilliant document. Use it, it's yours.
What was that again?
Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I carry that everywhere with me. A little booklet I bought. It was like $14 or something. It's in 17 languages, 30 articles, very easy to remember.
Yeah, for £2 from Waterstones.
£2 from Waterstones, I was ripped off.
Slightly different to that because it was done by Amnesty.
There you go. Super. So someone says, you identify yourself to me, you go, yes, that's my rights. Well, you're identifying yourself, what are you identifying? If you just present a name without presenting your rights, as you would do in the business world, yeah, you're leaving open to their presumption, and to assume your presumption, yeah? So if you go, yes, I am John Smith, these are my rights.
What's it called again?
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, yeah? The very good story background, it's a very good book, I forget the lady's name now, and she tells the story of how that document was created. And we're on this version 3 or 4. And of course the commies over in the Soviet Union didn't like, because the first draft was written by the British and the Americans. So it was entirely about individual rights and private property ownership and all that good stuff. And the commies in France and Russia did not like that. So they compromised. Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the chairwoman of the committee which drafted that. It took 3 years of hard fighting, that little 30 articles.
Where did you get your copy?
Oh, that's stuff from America on Amazon. That's it, that is it. It's not big.
That's the most important part.
Everything's based on that, they do not break that. They'll bend it, they'll twist it, they'll work it out, they will not break that. They're obliged by international treaty to recognise that, yeah? Eleanor Roosevelt was actually in admiration of the British contingent, because when the Americans were prepared to compromise with the communists over the Soviet Union and France, etc., the British stood their ground. If you read that, you can smell Magna Carta and all over it. Okay, so good book. Article 20, one example. Article 20, Part 2, my favourite one. No one may be compelled to belong to an association. That's your rights. Were you taught that at school? Did you ever see that in school? Did you know, it actually says on it, this will be placed in every school across the world. A copy of this will put in the wall in every school in the world. It actually says it. In every public place. It actually says it. I've never seen it. I've never seen it before.
How does that relate to common law?
These are international rights. Common law is national rights. So obviously there will be a conflict. However, common law should take priority, yes. But the two, nothing in there is really opposing our common law. Okay? However, there is just to say they've made new treaties and watered this down. They're obliged to put this into force. Yeah, we'll get around to it. For the meantime, we'll put in the Human Rights Act, which recognises some of this. And we promise we'll bring the rest in at some point in the future. The Human Rights Act is a piece of toilet paper compared to that. There's only one good article in the Human Rights Act, Article 6. All forms of slavery are prohibited. The rest of it I don't care about. That's the only article which is important. So that's your rights. That's who you are. That's how you identify yourself. If you just give a name, you're not giving your standing. You're not giving yourself an authority. You're not saying these guys will defend me. You're not presenting your arms. Right? You're just with a chicken. Right? But if you stand there and go, I've got United Nations behind me, and I've all these guys behind me, and these are my rights. You've now given yourself standing. You've now given yourself a presence. You've now given yourself authority. Okay? So that's the idea of authority. Identity. ID means, I'll give it another 5 minutes and we'll finish off then, yeah. I'll help you on it if you don't. ID, identity, comes with the id. The id is your soul, your inner being, your spiritual you. But they don't recognise that in the legal world. So to make it into something, to make it into an entity, into a thing. So the id, entity, is how they recognise it in the legal world. So to identify yourself as the id, entity. When you identify yourself for contract terms, you must have legal certainty, you must exist, and you must have legal capacity. And that's where that comes in, capacity, yeah? Legal capacity. I won't do contract, I did a podcast on No Borders Radio from last year where I explained contract law for new people, and I explained this, how it really works. So please listen to the podcasts. I get tired of repeating things. Okay, once you've surrendered power, it's easily surrendered, you try and get it back. And the mantra is might is right. Okay, so the guy with the biggest stick and the biggest sword is always right, isn't he? Now you know the word right come from. It's actually an Anglo-Saxon word. That means clean. Anyway. Okay, so I'll finish off by bringing in Aldous Huxley again. It was a masterly piece of work, but once you began admitting explanations in terms of purpose, well, you didn't know what result might come. It was the sort of idea that might easily decondition the more unsettled minds among the higher castes. Oh. Make them lose their faith and happiness as the sovereign good, and take to believing instead that the goal was somewhere beyond, somewhere outside the present human sphere, that the purpose of life was not the maintenance of well-being, but some intensification and refining of consciousness, some enlargement of knowledge, which was, the controller reflected, quite possibly true, but not in the present circumstances admissible. Okay? So, it's a good way to finish the book. So do please get a copy of Reading Your Own. It's a brilliant book and it messes with your head. And he, this guy back in the 1940s, predicted where we'd be today. Another good book I would really recommend people read. Again, you get this for free on archive.org. It's called The Man versus the State. The Man versus State. And it's written by Spencer, Herbert Spencer, it's called. The chap is, right? It's British from 1918. Okay, so it's fairly recent, right? He could be talking about now. He was right behind all this stuff. He knew what he was talking about. The book is brilliant. There's an audio book free available on the Mises.org. They do the book in audio book format for listening to in the car. And you'll listen to this, you'll go, why wasn't I reading this to start with? Because this could put me in the right track right from the beginning. So that book will point you in the right direction. He knew what was happening. So on that basis, I will end it for this evening. Thank you very much for joining me. If you have any questions,